Hey Jared, how are you doing today?
No, I'm good. How are
Good,
you?
good, good. So, we've kind of started establishing a pro staff team, and the reason that we've done that is we just want to grow the sport, and we've kind of picked and choose people like yourself that we feel like are good ambassadors, not just for us, but for the sport itself. So today we thought we'd just start with you. You're our first pro staff interview. Just kind of letting the members know why we do a pro staff, who our pro staff members are, and maybe how you could help them in challenges that they're having, or just general knowledge about the sport and how we can help grow it. So I appreciate you coming in and talking to us today. So
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here.
yeah, yeah. So let's just start off. Let's maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do in life, your hobbies, stuff like that.
Well, so I was born in Benton, Kansas,
Oh,
not too far from here. My dad got me into shooting. I was about 9 when he first started having me shoot. I couldn't hit a straightaway. I wasn't worth a darn. Couldn't do anything. So I got pretty discouraged. I was like, why does anyone do this?
yeah.
Not enjoyable. Didn't like it. And of course, being 9 years old, that month flew by real quick. And I was like, oh, I want to go shoot again. I want to go shoot. And so before we went out to shoot, my dad, being the custom gun stock maker, was like mounted at me left-handed, and I was right down the barrel. And went out and shot, and I was actually able to hit a straightaway. It was kind of like, oh, maybe there is something to this shooting thing. Fast forward, in 2010, I went to my first U.S. Open, and then just continued to shoot as much as I could. My dad would take me around all over the country to shoots, regionals, state shoots, World English, U.S. Open, Nationals, you name it. We tried to go to it. My freshman year of high school, I shot the Kansas State High School Trap League. I shot that. And then after high school, I went to college. I kind of moved around from college to college. My first semester, I was in Springfield, Missouri, and realized I'm not meant to live in the city. Very much a country boy. So from Springfield, I went to Fort Hays State, and I was there for 2.5 years. While I was there, I got my bachelor in agricultural business. My fiance, soon to be wife, I work on her family farm. So I got that degree to come back to the farm, help diversify a little bit, as well as maybe bring new and fresh ideas. Um, with me being able to work on the farm, it can be tricky to get away and go to shoots, especially we're coming up on calving season for us. So I don't really get away during that time. So it has limited my ability to go to shoots, but that's still what I love to do. I still love to go out there and compete and give it my all.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you touched on several good points there. People always ask us all the time, "Hey, can I bring my, such and such age kid out?" Well, you just addressed it. You started at 9 years old. We also host several of the like 4-H kids and stuff. We hold the 4-H state, and same thing. They'll start out 8, 9, 12, and they'll go all the way up to 17. I think is the cutoff for 4-H. So that's good to know. People don't really realize that. Also, you've been pretty successful even with all of your side of things. And by side things, I mean, everyday life, high school, college, farming, all of that. So you don't have to do it every single day to be the best. But I mean, of course that helps, but you can still just come out and have fun with this game, basically, is what you're getting out, and still be competitive.
Absolutely.
Pretty neat. I don't think most people realize, you kind of touched on it, going to a couple different colleges. Um, I don't think most people realize that there are opportunities to get some scholarships in college. You mentioned Fort Hays. I believe they have a program, correct?
Yes, I do believe they are working on getting one. When I was there, it was just a club through the school, but with us being a club, we had the full support of the student government. I mean, they would allot us money to go to these shoots, help pay for hotels, our entry fees, flights, and that allowed us, when I was at Fort Hays, I mean, my first semester there, we went to Ohio, we went to Georgia. We went to Las Vegas for shoots. I mean, we traveled a lot.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. That's good to know. You kind of touched on shooting through high school and whatnot. I don't think this was, you mentioned the U.S. Clay Target League or the High School Target League. I don't think it was quite as big when you went through high school, but now it's, a lot of people don't realize it's one of the fastest growing sports in the United States. A lot of high schools, a lot of high schools. I think it jumped up 50% this year in just Kansas alone of high schools that participate. And they do it the same as what you said. It's through the school, but it's not through the school. It's an outside club. The insurance is a great deal. I think it's $75 a year, if I remember, and that's paid to like the U.S. Clay Target League. And there's a couple others out there, and that covers the kid. Then a lot of them do, fundraisers and stuff of that nature. So there's not a whole lot of cost just to the kid or to the parents, and it gives them an opportunity to do something. One thing that's really neat is most of the schools start with trap. We've had a lot of schools add sporting, which we kind of prevail in sporting. We do have some trap fields, but one thing that is really neat that we saw this last year, some of these high school kids that couldn't do sports because, for example, they were in a wheelchair. Well, you can shoot trap in a wheelchair, and a lot of the high schools have realized that. Our trap fields specifically are full concrete just because we'd heard about that. So that's another avenue for kids, another sport, something that they can letter in, something that they can apparently get scholarships in, something that, a side activity when they're in college, so they don't get drained by just doing school and being away from their family and whatnot.
Yeah, and that's crucial too when you're in college. I know there are several colleges out there that just have it as a club, like similar to Fort Hays. They may not compete to the same level that Fort Hays does, but if they travel 2 or 3 shoots a year, you practice once a week, once every other week, that can get your mind off the schoolwork, get you out, get you outside. And kind of like you talked a little bit about earlier with those people that may not be as physically gifted or athletic, anyone can go out there and shoot on the trap field, like you said.
Yep.
It's kind of humbling because you could have someone that you always get those stereotypes in high school of, oh, this person's so athletic, they've got to be great at everything. Well, you get them out there on the trap field, and it's kind of an even playing field when everyone first starts.
Yep.
And kind of speaking to that, being an even playing field, one of the things that I tell a lot of people, whether they're new to shooting or this is something I constantly remind myself of, is every master was once a beginner.
So as far as high school, we kind of touched on it a little bit there, but, it's a very, there's lots of choices out there. People can play football, basketball, baseball, wrestle, whatever. Say those aren't your forte. Say you don't enjoy football, or you're not built for football or basketball or running or whatever. This is another option for them, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So kind of mentioned earlier, but I also shot the high school trap league here in Kansas. When you look at me, you see in high school freshman, I was 130 pounds and probably 5'2". So I did play football, but that wasn't my long-term career that was going to come out of high school. And so I started shooting more and more on that side of it. And when I was there, I saw tons of people that they didn't play any sports at all. I mean, they were either in the wood shop or on the music side, but they didn't want to play sports. But then they found out, oh, we've got a trap club here now. We can go shoot and do that. And they're like, sign me up. And so it diversified the sport so much more, because there were kids that they didn't feel at home on the football field or the basketball court, the wrestling mat, you name it. But they felt at home with their buddies that everyone could go do the same thing, shoot trap, and it was kind of that level playing field. And so the sport just diversified, because we had people that they may not be able to run. Maybe they were born with some disability, so they can't do a sport, but hey, they can go stand on that trap field and shoot. They're 25, walk down, sit, get something to eat, get a drink, and then go right back up and shoot another 25. And they're just plumb dumb and happy.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah. So it is very neat because you can be in the band, you can do whatever and still shoot or just shoot. Another thing that we didn't really touch on is, we keep mentioning high school and high school and high school. Well, if your high school doesn't offer it, first off, you should mention it. They may not know that the kids are wanting to do this, or how easy it is to make it happen. However, I guarantee there's a 4-H club in your area, and they are very large on this subject. We kind of touched on that. We host some of the 4-H kids at a younger age, but that's alive and well in 4-H, and it's a year-round thing that you can participate for a month or all year or whatever.
Yeah, kind of going back to that seasonality of it. Football, you've got it in the fall. Basketball, winter. Track, soccer, kind of in the springtime. Shooting can be done all year round. Even if you just shoot your trap league during the high school, maybe you only practice in the spring. But if you have the capabilities to get out and practice in the summer and the fall, and it can be a little bit tougher in the winter, maybe you don't want to go practice on a 30-degree day in the winter when it's blowing 20. I understand it. But if you get those nice winter days where, hey, it could be 60 degrees like it was this past weekend, with no wind, hey, there's a good chance to go out and shoot and gets you out of the house, kind of breaks the monotony of schoolwork, home, all of that.
Yeah. That's perfect. I'm glad you touched on that because this sport is kind of intimidating. People don't know where to start. They think that, you got to jump into competition or whatever. We have 3 courses. The 3 courses are always set fairly difficult. However, we're just about to open another course that's going to be strictly a beginner course. It's just going to be a 6-station, 5-station course that will be just for beginners, so people can come out. We already have 1 station geared towards this. But I guess what I'm getting at is people don't need to be nervous. It's a fun sport. You can start with trap if you want. We can even turn the trap machines so they throw in the exact same spot every time, just so you get comfortable. But it's just a fun sport. And really, once you start getting hooked to it, you get hooked to it, I guess is what I'm getting at. Intimidation wise, maybe you would probably agree with me. I don't think people, one of the common misconceptions is, who am I going to get to shoot with? Who am I going to get to partner up? I can't get any of my buddies to go with me. I would think you would agree with me. The people that shoot sporting clays are some of the nicest people out there, and they will open up their arms for you to join their group. They would be more than happy to get you addicted, to be quite honest, because they've all started that same way. So I'm glad you touched on that. Anything else you would say on intimidation or starting or...
As far as the intimidation goes, I think one of the big things is, and you hit on it, just go ask someone. They'll be more than willing to answer a question or point you in the direction of someone who can help answer that question. I know I've been out at STC several times training myself, and I'll have someone walk up, hey, what are you doing to execute that shot? Or why are you shooting it that way versus this way? What's your thought process? And I'm more than happy to explain it to them, because maybe they've also got something that they're like, well, why this way versus that? And then you think about it, it's like, well, it could be done either way. Maybe I just prefer this or the other. And answering those questions, there's a lot of people that are willing to do that.
Yeah. And we're the same way that as far as our staff goes. If you tell us it's your first time, we'll come to that first stand. We'll show you how to do it. In fact, one of my guys that's behind the counter, he's commonly referred to as Uncle Larry because he's kind of that uncle that everybody likes. And he's well known as Uncle Larry through the whole state of Kansas. And, his favorite thing is to get people started. He goes out, shows them how to use machines. He'll stay there and try to give you some tips if you want it. He's kind of like me, just an amateur, but we can at least get people started. So there's no reason to be intimidated.
I think one of the big things also that sometimes can be overlooked, but that I think is very important in getting people introduced to the sport is the gun safety side of it.
Yeah.
we have this stigmatism in this country that guns are bad and da 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 da. If we can teach them at a younger age, say high school, middle school, and get them to understand that guns can be safe, they can be enjoyable, and get people to understand that and break that stigmatism, it helps.
Yep. Yeah. And, going back to the high school and safety right there, it is actually the safest sport in America, which is awesome. That's a statistic that we want to keep. So, so Jared, what do you like about being on our pro staff?
What I really enjoy about it is you hit on it earlier. You guys have 3 courses.
Yeah.
So that is numerous amounts of targets that I can train on, whether I'm going to a regional, US Open, or just even a state shoot.
Yeah.
It allows me the ability on those courses you guys have lifts, different terrain. You can go from one station where it's a rabbit at 45 yards to out in the open prairie, 45-yard rabbit. Then you hook around the corner, all of a sudden you're in a dense wooded area and you've got a target at 10 yards now. So that little bit of variety is huge when you're going to prepare for a tournament, because I've been around long enough and been to enough clubs that consistently host these shoots that I kind of have an idea of what the terrain's going to be, some potential stuff they could throw. But if I'm going to a new place that I don't know what they're going to throw, I try and hit everything out there at SCC, from the open prairie, get into that wooded area and shoot some of this close stuff. And then go to your tower stations and shoot a bunch of towers, because you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And so that variability that you can get out there at SEC is just huge, that a lot of people don't think about.
So one more thing to touch on, everybody always asks about gear. Gear is important and this and that. But really for a beginner, even if they don't have a shotgun, they can come out. We have them to loan, we have them to rent, we have all the ammo, we have ear protection, we have eye protection. And like you said, we'll get them started. So if you think this is something you want to do, come see us. Try a couple different guns before you go out and buy something. Ask suggestions from us, ask suggestions from members, ask suggestions from pro staff, because it is a big choice, and you're going to do it more than once, but it is nice to try to do it once. But everybody always wants to know gear. So why don't you just kind of briefly go over what you use, you shoot?
Yeah. So for eye protection, I shoot Pilas, and I get them from Clay Target Vision.
Okay.
The reason I shoot Pila is it's what I'm comfortable with. In my opinion, they're the clearest lens. I've shot the ED series since I can remember. As far as ammo goes, it's what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
It's kind of what you can afford as well. I shoot RC. I shoot these Supernic here. That polished shot, I think, is a little bit more aerodynamic. And it patterns great out of my gun. That's another thing that you hear it on the rifle side of, oh, my rifle only likes this grain of bullet or whatever. I think shotguns can kind of be a little bit picky on what ammo they like as well. And then kind of going to the shotgun side, I shoot a Beretta DT11 with extreme chokes. I shoot 20s, and really, I don't take them out. I may take them out and shoot threads at a close rabbit or something that's right in your face. And then, of course, I've got a custom gun stock on it by my dad. And then for vest, I shoot bear pelt. I switched to them about 2 years ago, and they're just so comfortable. There's no extra baggy material that you feel like it's weighing you down or pinching in areas. They've been great to me, and I love them.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of touched on something right there. Your dad does the custom gun stocks, and, that is kind of something that I didn't really think was a real deal when I started this 4 years ago. It's like, oh, it's a shotgun. It's, it's not gonna matter, blah, 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 blah. No, that is a big mistake. So that is something I do suggest to new shooters. They don't have to go right out and get a custom gun stock, but, Jim does pad fits and stuff of that nature. And you wouldn't believe the difference that makes in comfort. It's unreal, not to mention it's pointing where you want it to.
Right.
But the comfort level is just unreal. When a gun fits properly, there's just no recoil. And that's amazing. So
one of the things that my dad usually recommends when someone's going to come see him is to make sure that they're able to mount the gun the same way multiple times. It can be important. And for a new shooter, maybe you shoot for a few months and you're like, this is what I want to get into. Maybe your first step is to just get that regular factory stock fit to you. Have it bent, have it lengthened, shortened, whatever you may need. And then shoot that and get comfortable and be able to mount the gun the same way multiple times in a row, be able to make the same moves. And then you can get into a pattern stock. And once you get into that pattern stock, you get the grip set and you realize how much recoil you were taking originally through your forearm. And now it's much less with having that palm swell. Then you're like, oh,
yeah,
that starts to explain a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. And gun fit wise, another thing that we haven't really touched on is ladies and women. That's become a huge thing in the shooting sports. There's manufacturers now making women specific guns for their, the higher cheekbones and just their physical shape. But same thing, gun fit, even if you don't buy a women specific gun, the gun can be fitted and make
Absolutely.
it much more enjoyable. So, well, Jared, we've kind of touched on a little bit of everything today. Sure appreciate you coming out, and I'm sure there'll be more questions and stuff in the comments. So we'll probably have to do this again.
Perfect.
But we really appreciate you coming out and just kind of explaining to people what we're going to do as having pro staff members and the whole point of having them. Of course, we would like to grow our business, but our main goal is to grow the sport and get more new people in the sport because it's something that we love.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and if anyone sees me out there on the course or they see me at a shoot and they've seen this video and you want to come say hi or ask a question, feel free.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks, Chris.
Mm-hmm.